Hi, community. I'm Lee Wind, and this is episode 37 of Queer as a $5 Bill, the podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about crowdfunding for authors, even if you're traditionally published. I am doing in the middle right now, day 15 of actually, I guess it's day 16 because there are 15 days left of my crowdfunding project for A Different Kind of Brave. I'll tell you a little bit about that later, but for now, I want to explain that I'm going to be sharing 12 tips that I think you should know if you're considering doing a crowdfunding project. And this is drawn from my experience. I crowdfunded Queer as a $5 Bill back in 2018, and now in 2024, I'm doing a different kind of crowdfunding project with my traditionally published YA novel, A Different Kind of Brave. Ready? Let's jump in. All right. Tip number one is don't make the crowdfunding project about you, or at least not all about you. This is actually a little bit of a secret about book marketing too. It's not about you. It's about the reader and what they're going to experience and what the book is going to help them with, whether it's escapism or figuring out how to do something. If you make it about you, that's when it gets sort of awkward and you're like, oh gosh, I don't want to self-promote. You got to think of it like you're offering something. So it's not self-promotion. You're asking people to help you achieve something or to help you even empower them. So for me, with this project, my idea was to create a Kickstarter, to do a crowdfunding thing that would empower LGBTQIA2+ and allied teens. So what I'm trying to do is raise enough funds to donate 350 copies of the paperback version of A Different Kind of Brave, and through a nonprofit, Brave Trails, give it into the hands of these queer and allied teens that are attending Brave Trails camp this summer, 2024. So my ask in the crowdfunding is not help Lee get this crowdfunding thing accomplished. Yes, people are doing that, but what I'm really saying is help me together. Let's empower these queer and allied teens, because that's something I feel really comfortable asking for help with. So tip one, don't make it about you. Tip two is have some partners. Who else can have skin in the game to help get this across the finish line? So for me, my book was traditionally published by Zest. No, not Zest. Good golly, that's my nonfiction book. Silly me. I have 3 books coming out in 2024, and my brain is all over the place. Let me try that one again. My YA novel, A Different Kind of Brave, which is my gay teen love letter to James Bond movies. It's a gay teen action adventure romance, is published by Duet Books, Interlude, which is an imprint of Chicago Review Press. So I at least sold them the rights to publish my book. They're only printing it in paperback and an ebook. So I had the idea to go to them after talking with Oriana Leckert over at Kickstarter to basically pitch the publisher the idea of doing a special collector's edition hardcover of the novel that would be an incentive for people to donate to the Kickstarter. Also, you can't actually do a Kickstarter without creating something new. You can't just say, give me money to do something cool. You have to create something cool that wouldn't have been created unless the Kickstarter was successful. So a special edition hardcover with a ton of cool bells and whistles, that's actually something that I could make a Kickstarter about. But I needed Chicago Review Press's help. So the publisher, we had a meeting, I pitched the idea, and they said yes. So that was my first partner. My second partner is the nonprofit Brave Trails. They're an amazing organization, and they host these summer camps. They put on these summer camps for LGBTQIA2+ and allied teens. It's very, very cool. And they do it both here in California, and I think they have one on the East Coast as well. And they were my partner for Queer as a $5 Bill, and we ended up giving away 910 copies of that book. So that was different though, because I wasn't doing a hardcover, and I was trying to basically publish the book myself as an author publisher and hire all the right people. But this time it's a different ask. It's saying let's get the paperback into the hands of kids, and the way we do that is by incentivizing people to back the Kickstarter, not just with the idea of empowering queer teens and helping them, but also, hey, they can get a cool special edition hardcover. So second tip is figure out who you can engage as a partner in what you're doing. All right, tip number 3, make it a win for everyone. So I look at this in a lot of aspects of my life, like how can I make the thing I want to do a win for all the possible stakeholders involved, and that way everyone's sort of wanting to help get it across the finish line. So let me run down the 5 different ways that the different kind of Brave Kickstarter is actually a win. So the first is that it's a win for all the teens who are going to get their own copy of the novel that really is a celebration of queer joy. And they're going to know that a whole community of people they're not personally connected to care enough about them to make this happen. The second win is it's a win for the people that back the project. And right now we're day 15 and we have 74 backers of the project. And they're going to know that they are helping empower queer teens at a moment when the queer community is really under attack. And they also have the opportunity to back it at a level where, as long as they're donating at least one copy, they can also level up their backing, the funding, and they can get their own special edition hardcover, which really does have so many incredibly cool bells and whistles. I'm going to actually tell you about them because I think it's worth kind of like sharing, because I was really excited. It's in an elegant dust jacket, as I put it, all dressed up like James Bond in a tux. The second thing is that inside the dust jacket, there's going to be a secret blueprint of the Hummingbird spy gadget, which is actually the Hummingbird gadget is on the cover of the book, but I'm going to have the designer create this very cool, like a spy blueprint. And then the hardcover binding under that cover is going to be have an iridescent rainbow foil design on the front and the spine, the custom designed rainbow end papers. There's going to be bonus thank you pages to thank the Kickstarter backers with either their real name and or their alias, although it's got to be a PG-13 alias. Every page is going to be printed with this sort of like rainbow frame, sort of an ombre rainbow frame, and that's going to give the book these cool printed rainbow edges. I'm also going to sign every one of the hardcovers and number them. And then everyone else is going to get a set of the Nico and Sam character cards. I'll talk a little bit more about those later. And then for people backing at the level where they're getting a hardcover, I'm also going to customize the Hummingbird Spy Gadget blueprint, which I think is all really cool. A whole lot of bells and whistles. So who else is it a win for? I think it's a win for my publisher. I think it's a win for the folks at Chicago Review Press, because they're getting to see how passionate I am about getting my books into the hands of the readers that I know it's going to have an impact for the good on. And they're going to sell 350 or more copies of the paperback if we're successful. So that's definitely a win for them. It's a win for the nonprofit Brave Trails, right? Like, they're running this summer camp, and it's another way giving each kid at the camp, each teen, a copy of a different kind of Brave. Their own copy is another way for the Brave Trails to support and empower these young people. And yeah, win 5 is that it's a win for me too. It reminds me that I have an entire community of amazing people that care deeply about empowering queer youth with me, and I'm going to have the satisfaction of knowing that my book is going to be read by a huge group of the exact young people I wrote it for. So tip 3 is make it a win for everyone. All right, tip 4, make it special. Make what you're doing feel really special. Like what we just ran through, all those cool things, the bells and whistles of the special collector's edition hardcover, that feels special. Make it special. Tip 5, pay people for their time and expertise. So back when I saw the cover for the first time, I was blown away. I thought it was so amazing. C.B. Messer is the illustrator. She's won a lot of awards for her cover design. And I contacted her and I asked, actually first I checked with the publisher if it was cool for me to contact her. And then I reached out and I said, hey, I have this really cool idea to create like character trading cards, one for Sam and one for Nico. So these are my two main characters of the novel. Sam is kind of this privileged New York kid that is idolizes James Bond and just thinks, he wants to be exactly like James Bond. He wants to care less and be more like a man of action. And over the course of the novel, he learns, that James Bond is a pretty terrible role model, and that's one of the cool things we get to see him experience. Nico, on the other hand, is not living a life of privilege. He's living a life of adventure, but it's pretty terrible. We open the book with basically Nico escaping from a gay reprogramming institute, and then he's on the run for most of the book. And when Nico and Sam come together, again, it's a romance. They come from such different worlds, and they have to go back and help figure out if they can save all the other kids that are trapped in the institute where Nico was. So we kind of come full circle. Not really a spoiler. You know that it's a romance. It's going to have a happy ending, and I'm very upfront about that because I feel like that way people can invest in falling in love with the characters, which is one of the reasons why I think romance is such a popular category. Anyway, I hired CB to design these cool character, trading cards, but you can't see, but I'm doing like little bunny ears around the word trading because as I hand them to people, I say, but don't trade them because they're destined to be together. It's really fun. She captured them in two different kind of action moments. Sam is sort of popping the cuffs on the sleeves of his dress shirt, and he's wearing this, blue designer suit. And Nico is basically in action, caught mid jump down in Machu Picchu. He's leaping off of a wall to stop someone who has stolen something from someone Nico cares about. Those character cards are really cool. And here's the thing. I paid that cover designer. I paid CB for the character cards. And when I was doing this Kickstarter, I reached out to her, again with the publisher's blessing. And I said, hey, I have this cool idea for a Kickstarter. And I need a couple of things to... I need some graphics. I need some mock-ups. I want you to do the design, but I don't know if it's going to get funded. But even if we don't get funded, I will still pay CB for the time that they've put in to helping this look professional and looking this good. And I think that's really important, especially queer people and women and people of color. We're asked to do things for free all the time to help other people achieve their visions by doing stuff for free. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think we should be asking people to do stuff for free. I think it should be a win-win for everyone. And if a designer is going to go out of their way and do all this stuff, then there should be a win in it for CB. And one of the ways is that I'm name checking them. And another way is that I'm going to pay them. Irrespective of whether the project funds, but I certainly hope it does, because then we get to do all this cool stuff, and I get to see the final art of that cool blueprint of the hummingbird gadget, because right now we only have a rough sketch. So pay people for their time and expertise. Yeah. Tip 6, do your math. Do it twice, and then have a friend that's good at math check it. Crowdfunding things can be really, really tricky, and you want to make sure you're setting your levels accurately, and you also want to make sure that you're accounting for stuff like international shipping. A note about Kickstarter is that international shipping, if you do it through the Kickstarter program, is kind of tricky, because if you're adding $17 to ship something to someone, that donation, that increased $17 amount, counts towards you reaching your total goal. The problem with this is that if you have a lot of expensive shipping that's added onto your project, you can end up having reached your financial goal, but you won't have enough money to actually do the thing you want to do, because you have to pull so much of that aside for shipping. There are a bunch of solutions for this. Mine is very low tech. I basically said, email me if you need international shipping, and then I will email you an invoice through PayPal to cover just the shipping. I'm not making any money on the shipping. And then once you pay that and you have backed the project at a level where I'm mailing you a hardcover, then that's how I'm dealing with that. But be careful about international shipping. You don't want to end up upside down on a project where it's funded, but you don't have enough money to do it. So do the math. Tip 7, have a plan to get the word out about your project. And just a side note, one email or one social media post saying, I have a project I have a crowdfunding project live, that is not a plan. Your plan needs to be multifaceted. You need to have an idea of all the different things you can do. And this is an ongoing thing, right? Like this podcast was not something I was thinking about when I started this Kickstarter project. I'm 16 days in, and literally it came to me this morning. And I'm like, you know what? That would be a really cool thing that I could be helpful to people. I know there are a lot of authors that are considering crowdfunding, whether it's to, fund the publishing of their book themselves, or this is kind of neat what I'm doing, right? The fact that I've teamed up, I'm traditionally published, but I've teamed up with the publisher and we're doing this special thing. Oh, and by the way, there's never going to be an ISBN on these hardcovers, so it will not compete with sales of the paperback, which was important for both me to tell the publisher and for the publisher to hear. So that was cool. And then, those character cards. So I just came from the American Library Association conference, and I had these great character cards. I had them printed up. They look like these Pokemon trading cards, but cooler, I think. I mean, no shade to Pokemon, but I wanted to include information about the Kickstarter. So how could I do it? So what I did is Canva. If you're not a professional level, if you're not paying for Canva, you should consider doing it. It is an amazing program. It's a design program. It doesn't make you a designer, but it makes the stuff you do look really professional. So what I did is I went on Canva and I made a QR code, and I basically printed it out as a sticker. Avery Labels, I contacted them. I went on their website. I found a label that was, I think this is like 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch square. And then I, on Canva, made the QR code, and then I wrote Empower Queer Teens Kickstarter on each of the sides of the square of the QR code in a different color. And then I stuck these little stickers onto my character trading cards, and I brought them with me to ALA, and I handed them out every time I was talking about a different kind of brave. I did a signing at the IPG booth. IPG is the distributor for Chicago Review Press. I handed out every person, every librarian. I think we did 55 books that I signed, and I talked to librarians, and it was so fun. And I handed them each a pair, the set. And I did my whole joke about they're trading cards, but don't separate them because they're destined to be together. Almost always got a laugh. So, and that was a really cool, fun thing. That's a cool way I got the word out. And then sometimes you're trying stuff and you don't know if it's going to work. So I thought that what I'm doing is interesting and maybe a little newsworthy. I wasn't sure, but the fact that the publisher was in and we were doing this special edition that wasn't going to be actually on sale, it felt a little newsworthy. So I reached out to someone I know at Publishers Weekly, and I said, hey, I know that I have no perspective on this, but I think this is a kind of newsworthy thing. I just wanted to put it out there. If you think so, I'm happy to share more information. I just wanted to put it out to you. So lo and behold, the next day, I'm contacted by one of the reporters at Publishers Weekly, Claire Kirsch, and I get interviewed for a half hour. And then the next day, there's this incredible article on me and this Kickstarter that runs in Publishers Weekly, which is the Bible of the publishing industry. That was incredibly cool. I'll include a link to that and to everything else I'm talking about in the show notes. But sometimes you just have to put it out there. So, have a plan to get the word out. And really, you have to kind of be flexible. We'll talk a bit more about that later. But for now, this tip is have a plan to get the word out. All right, tip number 8 is ignore the spam. I was kind of shocked by this because I don't remember it happening to this crazy extent back in 2018 when I did the other Kickstarter. But oh my gosh, there are so many people that are reaching out to me through the Kickstarter platform. In fact, they actually had a warning before it launched. They said, hey, be aware, you're going to get, people reaching out to you. We don't endorse them. And I thought that was really good for them to share, but I also was kind of stunned at how much spammy, like, we want to help your project succeed and, give us money to help your project succeed. And there was one, this was the most ridiculous one. We have somebody that wants to give you $35,000 for your project. You just have to, authorize a $350, account transfer fee. It was just such, it's like, I have a, I'm a prince from another continent and I need help with my money. And you are the person with the bank account to help me. This just stank to me. And I've just been deleting them all. So ignore it. Okay. A side note, there may be some companies that are legit that do this. I think actually Kickstarter even has one that's legit that they recommend, but really do your due diligence and your homework before you're going to pay somebody to help you raise money on for a Kickstarter or any kind of crowdfunding program. It feels kind of suspicious to me. All right, 9, be optimistic. Don't panic. If backers aren't coming to your project as fast as you want, or the funds aren't, getting to the level you're hoping they're going to get, revise your plan. Add more strategies to get the word out. Like when I went for a bike ride this morning, I was thinking like, wow, I'm halfway there. There are 15 days left of a 30-day campaign. I'm just under halfway funded. I'm 48% funded. And I was like, well, what can I do? And then I was like, you know what? I could talk a little bit about what I've learned about crowdfunding for other authors. And I was like, okay, well, how would I do that? And that's how I got the idea to do this podcast. And then listen to feedback, I think. In addition to coming up with more strategies, sometimes people are going to say things and it's always good to listen. So I had a backer. I think they backed the project at the $11 level. That's like the base minimum of like you can donate one paperback just by backing the project. I think you can also just give $1 if you just want to support the project, but that doesn't donate a book. So in terms of the reward levels, $11 is the base level to donate one paperback. And this person had done that. And they wrote me a comment through the Kickstarter platform. And they said, hey, I wanted to just tell you that I was looking for international shipping info and I couldn't find it. I eventually did find it all the way at the bottom because, the story is, there's a lot of information on the Kickstarter page. I would suggest that you include some information that there is an international shipping order at the top because for each level, it just says US shipping included. And I thought that was a great suggestion. So I did that. The very top, I think it's the second paragraph, there's a line in parentheses, like for international shipping information, look below. And I said the section it was on. And then also they had the suggestion to add an add-on, where no matter what level people are backing the project at, they can add on $11 and donate one more paperback, which I also thought was an amazing suggestion. I did both of these things. And then I wrote this person back and I said, hey, these were great suggestions. Thank you so much. I thought that was the end of it. But then they raised their donation a lot, like significantly. They raised it to like the $581 level where, 50 books are going to be donated and they're going to get a hardcover. I thought that was so, so cool. So yeah, you want to be optimistic. All right. Tip 10, be flexible. It is really hard to predict what level people are going to back. I did the math. I calculated based on the sort of like the worst financial case scenario. So the worst financial case scenario, it's very expensive to do that cool hardcover, with all the bells and whistles edition, right? For each one is going to cost about $31. Once you pay for the Kickstarter fees and the credit card fees and the tax and the design work, when you break it down, it's like $31 just to get one hardcover into the hands of one backer. And I didn't want anyone to be able to get a hardcover without donating at least one paperback to a queer kid, because that's the whole point of the project. So $42 is the first level that 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 you can get both, that you can get a copy for you and you can donate a copy. So when I launched my book, there are 350 kids attending the camp this summer. And when I launched my book, I sort of said half-heartedly to folks, hey, if it wasn't half-hearted, but it wasn't heard by enough people. But I said, hey, I would love to donate copies of the book to queer teens. So while you buy a copy for yourself, if you're willing to, the publishers arranged for donation copies at a discount, and you can buy them. And my brother bought 10, my dad bought 18 because 18 is a good luck number in Jewish tradition, and then I think like 6 other people, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, they bought a couple of copies to donate. But in terms of people I don't know, like 4 people did it. So anyway, we were starting out with like 34 donated copies. So this Kickstarter project only needs to raise enough money to donate 316 copies. So I had to look and think about like, okay, well, in the scenario where the only level that the project is backed at is the $42 level, how much do I need people to donate to actually reach to be able to donate 316 copies, which together with the ones I have would make 350, which means that every kid attending Brave Trails Camp this summer gets their own copy. And the number was kind of big. It's 13,275. And that's the number I had to go with because I didn't want the project to be fully funded but not be able to donate and give a copy to every teen attending Brave Trails Camp this summer. So that's the level I set it to. But you can't predict what level people are going to back at. And, a lot of the people, a surprising number of people have been so excited about this idea and so excited about, the wanting to help empower queer teens that a lot of them have chosen no reward. And they're just giving money towards making the project happen, which is amazing. But what's crazy is that, so here I am on the cusp of halfway funded, and we're over 400 books donated. But the catch is that with Kickstarter, unless you get fully funded, you don't get any money at all. So it is an all or nothing kind of proposition. So I'm hoping that we get over the finish line and we are ultimately going to be donating a lot more than the 350 copies. If we keep tracking like this, we'll be donating about 800 copies, which would be amazing. So that's kind of interesting, right? Like you have to be flexible and you're going to have to revise as you go, and that is okay. All right, next tip is be transparent. I think, this podcast is an exercise in transparency, but also keep your backers updated. And then I was thinking about doing the countdown, this does double duty, right? Like a countdown telling like people how the project is going. It's a reminder, especially when you do it on social media, like, hey, I'm doing this cool thing that I'm trying to empower queer teens, help me do this. So it serves that duty, but it's also sort of like, reminding people like, hey, time is running out, right? Like today's was, there are 15 more days. And I shared the statistics, right? Like we're 48% funded. We have 73 backers, 73 when I did it this morning. And when I did a couple of these in the very beginning, in the first 15 days of the campaign, I realized I was counting the wrong thing. I was counting the number of books with the goal of getting to 350. But then I realized, this is not helpful because if I show that, right now we're at 401 books that have been donated, that's not a real number because unless I hit the financial goal of the 13,275, none of that is going to happen, right? Like none of those, I won't have any money to buy the books. So I realized I was counting the wrong thing. And so I changed it. And so on today's post on social media, so basically what I said is brave Kickstarter countdown to empower hundreds of LGBTQIA2+ and allied teens, 15 days left, 48% funded, 73 backers. And I realized that was the way to track it because otherwise I was sending a weird conflicting message. If I was saying the goal is 350 books, but we've already funded 401, people are like, well, good for you, Lee, you're done. And I'm like, wait, no, I'm not done because I have to be fully funded. So I realized I was counting the wrong thing. And then, you also want to sort of share your process. So I realized when I set up the booth, and I don't have like an audio booth, literally I am standing in there's a little area outside the bathroom next to the closet with all the towels. It's like a little nook. And so I have like a picnic blanket over the bathroom door. I have like a shower curtain, like one of those nubby cloth shower curtains against the other closet door. I have the couch cushions stacked up next to me, hoping there's no earthquake because they will fall on me. Just to sort of, and some like whole bunch of like smaller rugs under my feet to sort of make this place less bouncy sound wise. It is, I have a bunch of little side stools stacked on top of each other with my mic, and my laptop is on another stack of little side tables. It is like almost kind of fun. And I've taped my bullet point list of things I wanted to talk to with like painter's tape onto the picnic blanket. This is not a professional sound studio, but I thought, it will be a fun photo. So I got my husband, who helped me carry up all the couch cushions, and I said, will you take a photo? Because when I talk about this, I want to be able to share the photo of me recording. I think that kind of sharing the process can be really fun for people, and it's another way for me to talk about this project. So be transparent. And now the 12th, the final tip about crowdfunding for authors is ask for help, which shouldn't be that hard because you're not asking for you. Going back to tip 1, this isn't about you. This isn't about me. This is about us as a community empowering queer teens, and the vehicle to do that empowerment is this book. And I feel like that is a much easier, thing to ask for. And that's where I ask for your help, dear listener. If you've listened to this so far, I really appreciate it, and I would invite you to check out the Brave Kickstarter. We did a bit.ly for it. I mean me, the royal we. I got so bit.ly / and then the word brave, all capital letters, and then the word Kickstarter, all lowercase. That link will also be in the show notes, and I hope you can check it out, and if you can back it, I hope you do, and even if you can't, I hope that you will help spread the word. If nothing else, you can share that this was a cool podcast and you learned something. I hope you did. I really hope that you feel empowered. I think crowdfunding is a really, really cool tool that we have in our toolbox as authors, even if we are traditionally published, and I appreciate you listening. Thanks. Take care.